for joining us this week on the Extra Point Show.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We're going to be recapping Wild Card Weekend, starting off with the Raiders and the Bengals game.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was a big game for the city of Cincinnati. It ended a 31-year drought that Cincinnati had, that they hadn't had a playoff win. Several people that I know haven't even been alive in the time that it had been since the last Bengals playoff win. So definitely big news. They ended up pulling off the 26-19 win in an exciting game. Um, First playoff game in NFL history in which both teams kicked and converted 4 field goals apiece. That does move the Bengals on, and it kind of eliminates the Raiders on their fairy tale season that they've had.
Yeah, I mean, they made it far. I mean, for given
They did.
what they've had to deal with, I mean, yeah, it sucks to lose in the first game, but
Yeah.
what can you ask for given the adversity that they faced? But the Bengals, they do go on, but then they got to go face the Titans
Yeah,
next week.
I think you've
So
got to be proud of the effort. If you're a Raiders fan, I mean, to go 7-5 down the stretch with an interim special teams coach, leading the thing, and then obviously with Henry Ruggs and then Damon Arnett, and then obviously, I'm sure there was a bunch of other stuff that probably even happened that we didn't even know about. So yeah, I mean, to even get to the wild card round of the playoffs, it's not like the Raiders are a team that gets in every year. So I think that's something to be happy for. But yeah, Bengals moving on. They get to face the Titans and the returning Derrick Henry that we're going to talk about here in just a second. Also, go ahead.
yeah, the next game was terrible blowout.
Yeah.
Oof. Patriots and the Bills. It was really cold, I think, in that game, right? It was like negative temperatures at some point, I believe,
It,
something
it
like that.
it was, which reports early on were that Josh Allen doesn't play well in the cold, which obviously
Obviously, is not a factual statement.
obviously he fixed that. If that was the case at one point, he definitely turned it on for that. So I don't know what was going on, but
Yeah, they
yeah,
came out on top 47-17. I
yeah,
mean, there was no time in that game where the Patriots were close.
yeah.
Like,
Interesting fact about that game was the fact that the Bills on drives went 7 for 7. They didn't kick a field goal. They didn't punt. They scored touchdowns
that's
on
right. They had
yeah,
a perfect game.
yeah.
Every drive they
Yeah,
had basically had
yeah.
a perfect game in terms of,
Yeah,
making
yeah.
some points on
Other
each
than like
drive.
kneeling it out at the end of the game or like the half, like
Mhm.
they scored on every drive, dude. Like it was
Yeah,
insane.
that's
That's
incredibly
never been done
impressive.
on a Bill Belichick defense ever. You know how good his defenses historically are. It's never
Yeah,
been
and
done.
Josh Allen, also the first quarterback in Buffalo history with 5 passing touchdowns
Yeah,
and 0 interceptions in a playoff game.
they're gonna be hard to beat. That's setting up a hell of a game with Patty Mahomes down there,
Yeah.
and oh my God, that's gonna be a game. That's gonna be a game. I'm
Yes,
I'm excited
yes,
to
it
watch
will.
that one.
They should just get better and better as time goes on. I
Yeah,
mean, the
I mean,
not all of these were that good. I mean, like some of them were close and some of
yeah,
them were
yeah,
less
and
close.
I
I mean,
mean, let's
especially
let's
this one.
well, hold on. Before we go on, let's just give props to that because in his first season, I mean, Mac Jones is a rookie quarterback making it to the NFL playoffs. I mean, you got
Mhm.
you got to give props. I mean, obviously, they didn't have the best effort, but like Bill was back after one down season, so they're going to be back.
Yeah, they did finish 10-7. I mean, you really can't complain too much about that. Got to the postseason. Well, wild card, but still.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that is the postseason. That's all. That's all. It counts.
Yeah, I was very happy to see the Eagles lose to the Buccaneers, 31-15. Definitely was hoping to see them get knocked out, and they did. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the Eagles ended up scoring most of those points. I think it was 31-0 for a while, so I think most of those points came, when it was
yeah, garbage
well out
time
of
didn't
hand, and,
matter.
and they probably had pulled most of their starting players out of the game. But yeah,
Yeah,
the 31-15 win means that the Bucks go on to the divisional round, and the Eagles do not. It was a notable wild card weekend for the NFC East because joining the Eagles at home were the Dallas Cowboys, who also got sent home compliments of the San Francisco 49ers.
hell
So
yeah.
yeah, at the hands of a 23-17 loss, which I mean, at one point that game was 13-0 before Dallas ended up scoring a touchdown. We'll obviously cover that game in the Niners news update later on in the episode. But yeah, just to let you know, um, big win. Dallas coming in as the number 3 seed. San Francisco, the underdog at the 6 seed, pulling that upset. Only team on the road to win in wild card on wild card weekend was the 49ers.
And it's always great to see the Cowboys be out one and done. Yeah, they always want to hype the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl, and then what usually happens?
How about them
One.
Cowboys?
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
have to hear about that now for another year,
yeah,
or well, for a
yeah,
while.
yeah, yeah. Definitely not. Definitely not. And then we had the end of an era. 18-year career of Ben Roethlisberger was ended, kind of like with assassin-like precision at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs in a 42-21 blowout. A game that actually shockingly was 0-0 after the first quarter, but as you can see, 63 total points scored after that.
Yeah,
So
insane.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, Pat Mahomes did punch his ticket. Patrick Mahomes moving on with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that explosive offense to go play, as we just mentioned, Josh Allen and the Bills in the next round. And anything else you
Yeah.
wanted to cover on that one?
Nope. Just got one more here. The Cardinals and the Rams. Another blowout, really.
Yeah, yeah.
34-11. That's one thing I noticed. A lot of the games this week were blowouts. I think that there was the two that were less so, but most of these were just one team was just like the Cardinals. They've had a downward spiral for the last few games of the season, but
They've been
wow,
falling apart.
they
Yeah,
looked real bad,
yeah, yeah.
like
Didn't
real bad.
show
And
up
and
at
the
all.
Rams, as expected, looked good. I mean, the
Yeah,
Rams are a really good team.
yeah.
And Matthew Stafford
How about
with
that?
them got his first career win
How
in the
about that?
postseason.
Yeah, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it in the powdered blue with the Detroit Lions, but
Nope.
he goes to the slightly darker blue of the Rams and the gold, and he's able to get that playoff win. I mean, obviously it helps if you're on a team where Sean McVay is willing to give up. I well, I don't even think it's Sean McVay. I think it's more or less Snead, their GM. I think like there's a story out that because he's traded away so many picks that his like kids got him a coffee mug or something that says like "fuck them picks" or something. And it's
Oh my
like Jesus.
God.
It's like, yeah, enjoy not having it. I mean, I know that we don't have a first round pick for the next couple of years because of Trey, but
Yeah,
so but they don't have one for a while, and I imagine that they'll keep just trading for more players because that's just how they
probably.
like to do business. Rather than developing their own players, they develop for, they just trade for the hottest play. Like they get their Von Millers, they get their Odells, they get their Jalen Ramseys.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be working for him. One other thing I did want to mention in relation to the Cowboys' loss, which I'm sure we can
Yeah,
probably put some of
yeah,
these
yeah,
pictures
yeah,
up,
yeah. Oh,
but
I was gonna give Mr. Playboy some airtime. Yeah,
there's a couple other ones too. There's like some other
yeah,
girls crying,
yeah,
but that
yeah.
that one, the one guy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
first time,
Let's take a
yeah.
moment. Let's take a moment for Cowboys Nation right now. I don't even know if that's what you call yourselves, but yeah. So right now there was a guy. My favorite one was the dude that got called out, and we're gonna put it up on the screen here for you. But the guy that got called out by his girlfriend taking the side chick to the Cowboys game when he said he was going with the boys. Clearly wasn't going with the boys. Clearly was crying like a bitch.
And his face just kind of screamed, piece of shit to you when
It did.
you saw the picture.
I remember. I
It's
remember
like,
that.
oh
I
man,
was
I don't
like,
know about this guy. And then like the next day, they're like, oh, Cowboy fan pictured crying with
yeah.
girl.
I
Yeah, as you just said, it's just
I
like,
don't I
wow.
don't like to assess somebody's character right away. I mean,
Right, right. Of
I
course
often
not.
do, but I don't like to. Is all I'm gonna say. But I don't like to. And anyway, but I did, and I was like, oh, this guy just screams piece of shit to
Yeah,
me. I mean,
right.
if you'd like to defend yourself and you see this somehow, Cowboys guy, feel free. You can call in and be on the show. That's fine. You can give your rebuttal. But yeah, I mean, you like what the fuck, man? You're going to a game, not and it's not just a local regular season game that's just going to be broadcast in local. This is
Well,
a
still
wild
though,
card
the
weekend game.
chances of getting on TV, I feel like that, are kind of slim. So
They're a
I'm
lot
sure
great. They're a
that
lot
dude.
greater if you're crying.
I'm not like making any justification for what
Yeah,
he did. It wasn't right, but I'm
yeah,
sure he's thinking, well, what the fuck are the chances that I can be spotted? But depending on the seats, if they're sitting
yeah,
way
yeah.
down in it's like, well, man,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
if you've got seats, if you've got good seats, if you're doing shady business, and you're crying, you're a prime target for NFL cameras. But good seats, crying, like the NFL loves to get that reaction. Is somebody that's either like naked, like with like painted all in the color, like or
yeah,
the
that's
NFL
true.
loves those reactive fans. So they were getting all the fans that were crying. They were getting them
Like
all.
the camera operator seemed like he was loving it.
He
Just
was
like,
he was he was
oh, look
probably
at this.
he's probably a Giants or Eagles or Washington fan from the NFC East. He's probably like,
How about them boys now?
yeah, what's what's that song that they have, that we dem
Oh,
boys song?
since '95. Oh, I thought you were
Oh,
thinking
oh,
that
oh,
movie.
I like that one better. Yeah,
That one's way better.
yeah, yeah. The Since '95 song. Hi everyone. Yes, this is my trash ass ex who is a serial cheater, and that is his side chick. We are no longer together, and we haven't been for a while, but he continues to lie all day, every day, just like he lied about his trip when he swore it was a guy's trip. He also told me that he had cut this girl off, but clearly that was another lie. I normally wouldn't post my business, but literally my phone is blowing up, and while I appreciate you guys sending me this picture, I don't need to see it anymore. Well,
I do find it ironic that she says though, like, we're no longer dating and we haven't been for a while. But
but
so I'm like, well, which one though? Which one is it? Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or, like, if they weren't dating for a while, why would she care?
right. Like maybe she's just looking for attention. I mean, that guy,
We've got a lot of
he looked
questions.
like bad news to begin
He
with.
did.
So like, I'm just inclined to believe that he's probably garbage. But that's not fair to really do to anybody. But it's just hard.
We might have to do it. I mean, he's there. He's crying. I mean, a lot of them were crying. It's like, what were your expectations? Like, I mean, I realized that they probably thought that, a lot of them, that they were going to win the Super Bowl, but
Or at
I
least
mean,
that game. I mean, they were probably. I mean, given their season went pretty well, they're probably like the Niners aren't shit.
I think
Jimmy Garoppolo is not that good. We can win this game, and
I
then
mean,
they lose.
keep ducking Jimmy. Go ahead.
But
Pack,
that's what they were
yeah,
thinking.
I
Like
mean,
you guaranteed every
Packer,
single Dallas fan
Packers
out there.
fans duck Jimmy too, and then you know what? The Rams and the Bucks, whoever gets him next, they can. The Rams already know about Jimmy. Like I mean, I'm honestly kind of hoping that tomorrow the Rams go on, because we've got their number. I mean, that's an
Yeah.
automatic trip to the bowl if we get past the Packers. Like, I was like, oh, okay, Kyle versus McVay round 7. I was like, let's get it.
It's
So,
like it's like he knows what he's doing because they shared time in Washington together.
oh
So
yeah,
he's just
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
Kyle's back there being sneaky and taking notes on him, and like he's probably just thinking they're friends. Oh, yeah,
It's
hey bud, and then down the road, Kyle's like, that's right, motherfucker. I wrote things down.
I would love it if fucking Kyle totally hit him with like the red what is it, the fuck, the water boy, where like what is it, the red, where he like where he's like, Klein, I'm gonna need that playbook, and he just like takes it from him, you know. Kyle just like takes it from McVay.
Yeah.
I ripped it. It's fine. That's
Oh
for
shit.
it's fine. That's it's accurate. But yeah, what if that's like McVay had all the good ideas, and Kyle's like, that's where the Debo idea came from. McVay's
Oh
fucking
god.
playbook is like, we're gonna start lining receivers up in the backfield. Nobody's ever done this
Every
shit
time they
before.
meet, he's like, it's like extra personal. He's like, man, I know this motherfucker took some of my ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not,
No,
but
I know, I know. I think Kyle totally like hooked McVay up with a job. You know, because he's chill like that. But yeah, going into the next thing here. was speaking of an occurrence during one of those wild card games. We got some more Bruce Arians news. The Antonio Brown situation, where Antonio Brown stormed off the sideline. Anyway, yeah, so Bruce is in the news again. This time, what he did was during the Tampa Bay playoff victory over the Philadelphia Eagles, Bruce was seen pulling safety Andrew Adams, um, or I should say he was. He said he was trying to like get him off the pile, but what it was it was definitely more of like a slap and then like an elbow motion. Like Bruce like slapped and then like he threw an elbow. Like a really
Yeah.
awkward looking like slap and then it was yeah. So it didn't really seem like he was trying to like, like pull him off of a pile. So when the reporters asked him about it after the game, they asked him if he had any like regret about the situation or, if he felt how he felt about the situation, and Bruce said, "No, I've seen enough dumb things. You can't pull guys out of a pile. We just got a big play, great field position. He's trying to pull a guy out of a pile," Arian said Monday in a news conference. And I was trying to knock him off that guy, so he did. Okay, so he said he was trying to knock him off, not pull him. Okay, so that does make a little
Mm.
bit more sense with the with the elbowing motion. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I was trying to knock him off that guy so he didn't get a penalty. So in the meantime, Bruce did avoid getting a 15-yard penalty, but what he did get rather was a $50,000 fine. So he does plan to appeal that fine, but yeah, that's something to think about as he prepares for the divisional playoff game against the Rams.
I mean, 50 grand for you didn't get the 15-yard penalty. I think most coaches will probably take it. Like, you know
Yeah,
what? Slap that 50 grand fine on me. That's fine. Like,
yeah. It didn't cost him field position. But yeah, I mean, I watched the video of it. I mean, it wasn't anything like too
yeah,
crazy, but
I saw it when I saw the game. It was really, they showed a replay of it and the
yeah,
announcers were a little like, what was that about?
yeah,
But it's really not. And it does look like he kind of just goes to like
yeah,
smack. It's kind of
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
what are you
I
doing
mean,
there? But
I don't think it's near as bad as Urban Meyer kicking his kicker as reports
oh,
have
no,
so.
no, not at all.
I mean, but yeah, it's in the heat of a game. I think there's emotion and stuff like that. That was obviously something that occurred at practice. But yeah, Bruce said he appeals to plans to appeal the fine, so we'll see if he has any luck with that. Um, Other than that, just mention real quick. Um, just meant to touch on this when we were recapping the games, but during the wild card games, two players that were on IR and not expected to return again for the rest of the season, Juju Smith-Schuster for the Steelers and J.J. Watt for the Cardinals, did return for their respective teams and play, which was pretty impressive, given everything that they had to deal with, and the fact that they weren't expected back in the season. Unfortunately, for both of them, their teams did get eliminated in the first round, so that comeback attempt was short-lived. But there's always, as they say, next season for both of those guys, and obviously Juju. If he, I think he signed a 1-year deal, so it'll be interesting to see if Pittsburgh brings him back with whoever they anticipate the new quarterback to be, whether it be Haskins or Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's see if Haskins starts again
Oh,
for any team.
we'll
I'd
definitely be
be
following that. We'll definitely be following
surprised.
that. Yeah. But speaking of players returning, maybe none bigger than this weekend's return, and I think the fact that they had the first round bye helped significantly. But King Henry, King Henry's supposed to be back. Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's big for them. I mean, they're lucky they got that first round bye. Gave him
Yeah.
an extra week to heal up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Tennessee getting the one bye in the AFC. Now, what's interesting about Derrick Henry, and this is an insane metric. I just want to touch on this just out of how impressive this is. So Derrick Henry in the games that he played, he generated 937 yards and 10 touchdowns, which at the time was leading the league. That was before Jonathan Taylor, kind of took over and started, going off on his own. He had 219 carries already in just 8 games. So his workload extremely heavy. He was,
Yeah, that's insane to have that many
he's
yards in
he's the
8 games.
he's the Titans offense. I mean,
Yeah.
Tannehill has really been struggling. His touchdown to interception ratio without Derrick Henry has been, not what you would hope. Um, Definitely been like one of the worst in the league, despite them still winning games. Tannehill hasn't been playing great. Um, so yeah. Anyway, despite missing those 9 games, his 27.4 carries per game, 117 rushing yards per game, led the NFL. And despite missing 9 games, Henry still finished in the top 10. So he finished in the top 10
That's ridiculous to
in,
me.
in
Missing half the
carries,
season.
rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns. Now, nine
Wow.
games is the most games anybody's ever missed and still finished in the top 10. And he didn't even finish 10th, he finished ninth.
Wow, that's
So
insane.
missed half the season, and he had paced the rest of the league that much at that point that he could basically, break a bone in his foot, miss half the season, and then yeah, just I mean that is incredible. But I think the Bengals had their short run. We're going to touch on that. Bengals had a big moment. Obviously, the Bengals have a huge test this weekend with the Titans. Now, the Bengals defense much improved this year under Zach Taylor. I mean, the Bengals in general under Zach Taylor this year. I'm sure that the fans are happy they kept him for a third year, getting them into the playoffs and then their first win in 31 years, as we mentioned that. Now, Zach Taylor did something pretty cool in his post game breakdown with the team in the locker room. He gave one game ball to the owner, Mike Brown, who's like owned the team president or owner. I don't know exactly what his role is, but he gave one game ball to him, and then he gave one game ball to the city of Cincinnati to like end that playoff futility that they had, which I thought was really cool.
That
Like
is pretty cool.
yeah. So I mean that's a cool moment for the fans. And then he sent 2 balls from the game to like 2 local Cincinnati bars that like always have the Bengal games on. So
That's sweet.
solid as hell. So Zach Taylor coming from that Sean McVay coaching tree, proven to be a pretty solid guy and maybe a pretty good head coach. I mean, I think this is going to be Joey Burrow's going to deal. There's no question. Joey Burrow's going to deal. But I think the real matchup in this game is going to be Bengals defense versus King Henry and the workload that he sees. We're going to have to see how ready he is. And I mean, is he ready to take on 27, 30 carries again? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah,
He's got
they need him to. I mean,
he's
shit.
got a metal bone in his foot, so we'll have to see. The guy's playing like like the fucking Terminator, man. He's a cyborg now. King
If he's
Henry.
playing like he was before, then
Bengals don't have a
yeah,
chance.
I was gonna say yeah,
Yeah,
Bengals are gonna have a tough
yeah,
tough road ahead of them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
see how
Absolutely.
that goes for them. It's
Yeah,
really gonna depend on how Derrick Henry looks.
absolutely. And let's talk about some potential new beginnings here. Obviously, piss off the Seattle folk. So,
Yeah, I mean, for the first time in his time there, he wants
in
to
his
possibly
storied
explore
career,
options. His storied career,
storied
you're
career.
right.
Yeah,
Looking for other options in the offseason. One of which that always gets brought up is Washington.
Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll cover that a bit more later about that whole talk. It's one of the few Washington related news things going
yeah,
on, but there's obviously other teams that would be interested in him. After the Seahawks went 7-10, I think it was this
yep,
past season, their
yep,
first losing season under Pete Carroll.
yep.
I guess I think that's a little ridiculous for him to already want to jump ship after one bad season, but I'm sure there's plenty of teams out there that would be more than happy to have him.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Russ is a great quarterback, and I mean, basically, right now, I mean, if you look at it in Seattle, they've got a solid core, but they've got a lot of opportunities. I mean, obviously, they've drafted DK Metcalf, which gives him, and they've got Tyler Lockett, so he's got good receivers. But
Mm-hmm.
over the years, the offensive line and the defense is not what it was. I mean, obviously, they still have Bobby Wagner, their great linebacker, but they've lost players like Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman. Like I mean, the Legion of Boom is no more, and I mean Russ has he hasn't demanded a trade, and it's not clear if he will. But in one of his final season-ending press conferences, Wilson did express hopes to stay in Seattle. He said, "I've always thought I would be here. That's always been my goal to win multiple Super Bowls, and my plan is to be here to do that. You take every day and you enjoy the moment." So, he expressed interest to stay there, but he was kind of non-committal to the situation. I mean, obviously he is open to exploring options. One of the teams I remember he had mentioned that he was linked to last year when they were talking about a trade was the Bears. I think the Bears are out now that they have Fields. I think, the future is going to be built around him. So I think that they're not in the market. I think that, the Colts are always in the market to pursue a quarterback, maybe if they don't fully believe in Wentz. Obviously, the Denver Broncos have, a dismal quarterback situation because they can't count on Teddy or Drew Lock. And Washington, I could see making a play at him because they did make a play last year for Stafford, I remember.
Yeah.
So obviously Ron planning on being aggressive in his, and we'll talk more about that here in a little bit with his approach to attacking the quarterback position in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens. Obviously, you know, Russ, in my opinion, is Seattle. So if Russ leaves
Yeah.
Seattle, that is great news for the 49ers. Like,
And there's a lot of teams out there that are like that, though. I mean, Derrick Henry is the Titans basically, or
yeah,
like Lamar Jackson is largely it's the Ravens. Like not obviously not entirely, and sometimes on one team more than the other, but that
yeah,
seems like a lot of the successful teams they are really built around certain players, and if those players get hurt, then or
yeah,
if they lose them, trade whatever, the
right.
team loses its identity.
Oh, absolutely. And Russ missed for the first time in his career 3 games due to injury, and that could have been why they finished 7-10. So the Hawks missed the playoffs for just the second time since 2012, and second time under, or actually no, first time under Pete Carroll. Um, so let's see here. But we know Pete Carroll is coming back. Only coaching change that's been reported so far was that Ken Norton, the defensive coordinator who's been on the staff for 4 years, would not be back. Pete's going to be 71 next season, so yeah, we'll definitely see how long he's wanting to stay there. But without Russell, Seattle's definitely, I think, in rebuild mode. I mean, they still have pieces
Yeah.
for sure, with obviously, like I said, DK with Lockett, but if you have to start over at quarterback, especially if you go and attack quarterback in the draft, I just, I mean, I don't know who you go. You go with Matt Corral. You go,
Yeah,
it's like,
this draft doesn't look good,
yeah,
good at all, which is not good for Washington or any team that needs a
yeah,
quarterback. But it's particularly frustrating.
yeah. And then it was last reported by Mike Garofalo as of January 9th from Seattle that they had no plans to trade Wilson this offseason, but and that they planned for him to be their QB1 for
I mean,
2022.
and that would really make sense.
That
I
would
mean, he
make
might
sense.
be looking to explore options, but
Yeah,
I mean, come on,
yeah.
it
I
would
mean,
really not make any sense for him to go anywhere else at this point.
Houston was saying all season that they, didn't see them getting rid of Deshaun Watson, and Ryan Casario has just now started saying that they might start looking at options to get rid of Deshaun Watson. I was like, well, you had
Hmm.
him on your roster doing nothing all season.
Yeah, like
I was like, you could have gotten something for him there. Now he's been out of football for a year, hasn't played. You might even get less value for him, although probably not much. I wouldn't imagine.
to this week's Redskins rundown. It's going to be a very quick one. May as well you can just call it a clip this week. Basically, obviously, we are not playing, so there's not a whole lot going on. The main thing that I can talk about really is the name change, which obviously we got about 10 days coming up to that.
10
That's really
days.
the only news. There's been some players that have commented on it and said that they really like them. I think it said that they've seen the logo and like they've seen everything. I'm not sure if that's true, but I feel like that's what I read. And they're not going to let them say negative things. I feel like about it if they're sitting there, reporting to a newspaper or whatever, an article. That just wouldn't seem likely. So I feel like you can take those opinions with a grain of salt, until you really see them and you know what it is.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. But that's one of the only things that has came out, as well as some talk with the possible new stadium. I saw this earlier today. that legislators met with Washington football team officials last month, and talks to bring a stadium to Virginia are very serious. There's some locations under consideration. We can't talk about specific sites, but certainly the existing station contract in Maryland is up in the next 4 years. And so they've got to start making plans now. There has been intense competition between Virginia, Maryland, and DC to land the new stadium. So at this point, no idea where it's going to end up. Virginia seems to be pushing really hard for it. I know a lot of fans, though, don't want to see it not in DC, which it's already not. It's in Maryland. So like ultimately, like, what the hell's the difference if it's in Virginia, Maryland? I mean, come on, like it's the DMV. It's all the same thing basically. Like as long as it's somewhat near Washington, I feel like that's fine. Like because it
Yeah,
already is.
I've heard a lot of the fans are actually in Virginia too. If I don't know how accurate that is, but that's certainly what I've heard. You know, like at least
I would believe that
some of
because
the
a lot of people in
Washington news.
Maryland are Ravens fans. Is
Right.
oftentimes.
That's what I would think. Right.
But
Exactly.
there's a split. There's a split though. I mean, there's Ravens fans obviously in Virginia too, but there probably is more in Virginia compared because there's no Virginia team. So I would imagine that. I mean, I grew up in Maryland, and I remember there being a lot of Redskins fans, but also a lot of Ravens fans. I think it depends on the area that you're in as well.
Okay. Makes sense.
But yeah, that's about all we got
Oh,
until the.
yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
is there one more
I just,
thing?
no, I just have a couple things to just touch on real quick that we'll throw in. So also just as far as roster moves go, um,
Oh,
DJ,
that's right. There was one signing, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah.
DJ Hayden, cornerback, getting himself signed to a reserve future contract. So now he's a member of the Washington offseason roster. Hayden will try to earn himself a spot onto the 53-man roster in training camp. He initially signed with the team in December, and while the team was battling the COVID outbreak, and starting corners Kendall Fuller and William Jackson both missed time with COVID, and then obviously, Billy Jacks the third missed 3 games with injury. I think it was like a hamstring injury at the last part of the season. So both of those corners are expected to be back next season, as well as number 3 corner Benjamin St. Juste, but he is expected to provide additional depth. Hayden is a former first round pick of the former Oakland Raiders back in 2013, so he's got some starting experience in the league. He's played for the Raiders, Lions, Jags, and so he could end up being somebody that helps out. He did end up appearing in 3 games, mainly playing on special teams this season.
Oh, it's always good to have depth.
He did play 4 snaps on defense actually in the Week 16 loss to Dallas. So
Okay.
that was
I was gonna say, yeah, not a name I'm familiar with particularly.
that was that blowout game. So they probably just wanted to get some fresh bodies in there and just try something new.
Those are like that week or two. I could
Yeah,
forget. You know, it
yeah.
just doesn't. I don't need to think about that.
Understandable. But maybe we'll see him more next year. Also, the other thing I wanted to mention: assistant running backs coach Jennifer King has been making history throughout the season, and she will do so again when she is going to be the first woman positional coach to serve in a positional coach capacity in a major college all-star game. She will be coaching in the East-West Shrine Bowl game, where a lot of the upcoming draft prospects will be playing. So that's going to be pretty cool for her. We'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, I remember Jarrett Patterson during the season said that she's helped him out a lot, and really credited her with a lot of his development as a running back in the NFL. So,
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, absolutely. So, and then Randy Jordan, the Washington full-time running backs coach, said, "I'm very pleased to have Coach King back to assist me full-time in the running backs room." And then he said that last year because I guess she'll be coming back for another season. So, just wanted to mention that as well. But yeah,
Awesome.
that's really all we've got.
Yeah, I believe that's about it until the new name update comes. Unless something big happens like within the next 10 days, well, I'm
Right.
sure we'll probably bring that up. But
Break it before that, but other than that,
probably nothing's going to happen until the second of 2022 as
10
they
days.
decided to choose.
10
So
days.
we'll see if the name is good as those players said it was. Well, if those comments were actual comments or just
Yeah,
PR stuff. You never know.
I hope it's good, man.
I hope it is
love
too.
it. I hope it's
I'd
good.
like to believe. I'd like to go with it. If they like it, I mean, it must not be terrible.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I said, they're not going to let them say if they really don't, and also, these guys are young, but I think all the guys they asked are somewhat, and they're, I don't know. It's just, we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
didn't they ask like John Allen? John Allen's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ultimate team guy. Like John Allen's gonna be like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
all right,
exactly. He's not gonna. Yeah, so it's one of those. John Allen's the main. I think they asked a couple guys. I think it said. I remember who the other two were, but John
yeah,
Allen was one of them. So
yeah,
yeah, it's just one of those things you got to take with a grain of salt. So,
for
but we'll
sure.
see in 10 days.
Yeah,
We'll have something big to talk about then, and see if it's good or
absolutely.
bad.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, somebody's gonna be disappointed, which sucks because you can't make
Yeah,
everybody happy with the name change. Obviously, if you wanted to do that, they probably would have just kept it Redskins. But you can't do that in this
yeah. No,
because
apparently not.
fucking people are too sensitive. Although most people aren't. But you never know, and that's I
Yeah,
guess
most
your
people really
prerogative.
aren't. Most people
Right.
don't care. Most people are like, dude, it's like, I'll be honest, like naming a team after a particular race of people is kind of an odd thing on paper when you think about it. You're
Right.
like,
Right.
like if you take any other race and put it in there instead of Redskins and call them to that doesn't sound really good at all. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I don't. It's not. I don't know. I don't think it was used in that way, and it was never thought of in that way. It's like it is different, but I can see how some people could look at the issue and be like, dude, you're basically. It's like, what are they? What if it was the Washington Mexicans? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, well, fair point, fair point.
Yeah. 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 True. True. I guess that's a perspective to look at.
That was one of the ones that kind of got me. I was like, all right, you
Yeah.
know what? I
Yeah.
guess if you look at, because I never thought of
Yeah.
it in that manner, but if you
Yeah.
when you put in that perspective, you're like, oh man, it is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I know that most native people like it and that they see it in a
Yeah.
good way. So it doesn't have to be taken that way. It
Right.
just, I could see how it could be.
For sure.
But yeah, and now I'm just rambling because there's nothing else to talk
Hey,
about. So,
that's what we do here. That's why we have the time and do whatever the
but
hell we
yeah,
want.
that is about it. So it's about just wait for the new name to come up. That's it for this week.
Have a good night,
We'll
everybody.
cover that. Have a good night.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us this week on the Niners news update. We got that win. We did. We got through the wild card round, picking up that 23-17 win over the Dallas Cowboys. Happy
Yeah. Well, how
Cowboys.
about them Cowboys,
How
everybody?
about them?
Like,
How about them?
glad to see that they're one and done. They were so, oh man.
Yep.
They thought they were going all. I mean, then again, every year that's what
Pre-
Cowboy
we,
fans
we
say. But
predicted that on the last week's show. If you didn't watch it, we sure did. We thought that they would go ahead and get bounced. I mean, obviously, I think I remember saying the exact quote was that the Niners pass rush would be too much for the Dallas offensive line to handle. And guess what? They got 4 sacks. So yeah. So let's start with that. The Niners defense coming into this game, this 23-17 marvelous win that was Cowboys made it a lot closer than it should have been. Let's be honest. They had a respectable effort in the second half. I will
yeah,
give the devil their due. Number one offense in the league though, getting held to 17 points, and a big reason why is that defense holding, like I said, 4 sacks. The Niners defense has gotten 3 or more sacks in 7 straight games, which is the longest current streak in the NFL heading into Green Bay tonight. So that does not bode well for Aaron. Now, David Bakhtiari, their great left tackle, is back. He's going to return after missing pretty much the entire season. So that's going to be good news for them. But I mean, he hasn't played a lot of football this year. Hopefully, Nick Bosa can get by. I mean, when he was in there last week, he was effective. But let's go through here and talk about the game real quick. So Niners obviously start with the ball first, and first play of the game, first official play of the game, Debo would line up in the backfield and take the carry for a gain of 8. So running a little Debo special at the Cowboys right off the bat. Let them know what you're all about. Establish that.
yeah. They didn't wait at all to
They
bust
didn't.
out
They didn't
Debo.
wait.
They're just
They
like, here
didn't
you
wait.
go.
It wouldn't be long until Jimmy would hit a play action fake and find Travis Benjamin for a gain of 17. Now, interesting thing about this is Travis Benjamin, despite being targeted like maybe only 5 times, didn't have a catch in the regular season. So their first completion of the day, they go to him, and he was pretty open. I mean, it's a good play call by Kyle. I mean, like throw to the guy that you haven't thrown to all year. They probably think you're using him as a decoy or just a blocker. On the next
Right.
play, Jimmy would hit a quick slant to Ayuk for a gain of 11 and another first down. Next play, Elijah Mitchell's first run of the game was a gain of 13 and another first down. And on that play, Kittle completely cleared Micah Parsons out of the screen. Like you just saw, like Kittle just move number 11 just
Oh
completely.
yeah, I remember that play.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. I
That was
mean, it was
beautiful.
like your strength on our strength. It's like, all right, and I mean,
Yeah.
Kittle can block anybody. I mean, like whether it's a linebacker or defensive end, like, he's just so good. I
Yeah,
mean,
even if he's not catching passes, he's out there blocking.
he
I mean,
prides himself on
he's
his
doing something.
blocking. He prides himself on his blocking, dude. I mean, Kyle Pitts, the great young athletic tight end, could definitely learn a thing or two from Kittle's blocking because he is not a very good blocker. But yeah, so next play, Debo would take a screen 15 yards all the way down to the Dallas 4. Now, that would interestingly enough be the fourth straight play of 10 or more yards that the Niners would run. So super efficient offense on the first play of the game. Um, Next play, we end up going with an outside run to Elijah Mitchell to the right for a 4-yard rushing touchdown for the Niners to go ahead 7-0. So quick 7-play, 75-yard drive to go up early and really just kind of start the game off right. We
Yeah, great start. Very strong looking start. When you come out with on your first drive of the game like that, it's a very good sign, especially in a playoff game.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what you want. You definitely don't want to stutter and come out and punt or even worse have a turnover on your worst drive. So it went as well as possible. This game started about as well as we possibly expected.
Absolutely. I mean, even on both sides of the ball. I mean, on the drive, Dak would roll right and throw looking for CeeDee Lamb, but it was incomplete. The second play was a handoff to Zeke Elliott, but he would be tackled for a loss by Dre Greenlaw. And then Dallas would lose 3 yards on the play, facing a 3rd and 13. Nick Bosa and Samson Ebukam would get to Dak and split the sack, and
Yep.
this would force Dallas to punt.
Yeah.
So on both sides of the ball, pretty much as good a start as you can
Yeah.
ask for. Dallas doesn't get
Absolutely.
any yards. They lose yards
Absolutely.
actually,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then the
Absolutely.
Niners score. So
And it
fantastic
was
start.
great to have Dre Greenlaw back because this is only like the third game he's played in all season. He'd been dealing with that hamstring injury and complications from that. So great to see him make a great play. We actually had our top three linebackers for the first time in a long time with Fred Warner, Aziz Alshire, and Dre Greenlaw all in the same game for the first time in a long time. So that was great to see. Now we had Travis Benjamin back to return. He managed to bust off a pretty good 11-yard return, which interesting perspective here. Which this is why I mentioned that. Apparently Trent Williams talked to the team before the playoff game, and he talked to the special teams, and this is how like close of a unit the Niners are. But Trent Williams, I guess, said something. Trent Williams, obviously the best player on the team, highest paid player on the team, came into a special teams meeting and was like, every time that you guys get 10 yards on a return, that's one less first down the offense has to get. So thinking in that Travis Benjamin return, picking up 11 yards, that's basically one free first down. So
Yeah,
interesting point
definitely.
by Big Trent. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. It sounds like he's like a super team-oriented guy. But after going 3 for 3 on the opening drive for 43 yards, Jimmy started the second drive off 0 for 2. So facing a 3rd and 10 though, made a beautiful throw on an out route to Jawan Jennings where he hit him like right at the sideline. It was a great throw, one of his better throws of the game to pick up a first down and 11 yards. Then we would go ahead and hit him with a heavy dose of Elijah Mitchell, and the Niners would attempt a screen, but it was blown up by Dorrance Armstead for a loss of 11. That was one of our only negative plays. We threw to Elijah Mitchell in the backfield, and he got blown up for a loss of 11. So that was kind of ugly.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled about that.
Yeah, and then to make things worse, facing a 3rd and 16, the Niners would be called for a delay of game, so
Yeah,
making it 3rd and 21.
yeah, those noisy. Well, the noisy fans like they ended up being a factor on both ends. There were times when Dallas had the ball and our fans, because there were a lot of Niner fans there, and our fans were making a lot of noise. And Dallas
Mhm.
got called for a huge amount of penalties.
Yeah,
Um,
they really lost
yeah,
themselves that game, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. A lot of pre-snap stuff too, like false starts and neutral zone infractions, stuff like that too. But yeah, then facing the 3rd and 21, Jimmy finds Kyle Juszczyk for a gain of 10, make a field goal attempt a little bit more possible. Then Robbie comes on for his longest field goal attempt in about 2 seasons, a 53-yarder, which is probably right around the max of Robbie's range. I mean,
Mhm.
they said in pregame he was hitting from about 55, so that's good to know. I don't think he's going to have nearly the range in the frozen tundra. I don't think they'll be trying a field goal outside of 40 yards. If you've never kicked a field goal, kick a little kicking insight for the folk real quick. If you've never kicked a football in fucking freezing weather or weather that is that cold, it's basically like kicking a rock. So yeah, your
Mm.
ability to get drive on the football and like even if you kick soccer style with the top of your foot, it's gonna be very hard to drive the ball in those conditions.
Do they like keep the balls warm somehow? Like
They
maybe.
try, but what you can only do so much. They try. They have like little towels on the sideline and stuff. But yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Hmm.
they try, but there's only so much you can do. But yeah, so 53-yard attempt. But Robbie nailed it to make the lead 10-0. This would also make Robbie 16 for 16 on career postseason field goals, dating back to the start of his career with the Bears. So pretty damn
That's a
impressive.
good record to have
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, damn impressive. Robbie Maddock in the postseason, running wild. All right, let's see. What did Dallas do following that?
They pick up their first down of the day on a 10-yard completion to Amari Cooper. So good for Dallas, I guess.
There you
They
go.
started to wake up slightly.
That's Amari. There you go.
On a 3rd and 6, Connor Williams would be called for his league-leading 11th holding call on
That's
Nick Bosa.
that's what I'm saying, man. The penalties,
Yeah,
man.
they really did lose themselves the game. Dak would hit CeeDee Lamb for 32 yards on the play, which of course would be wiped out by the penalty. So appreciate that one, Connor.
Yeah,
That was helpful.
yeah. That was nice. I feel like every time they threw to Lamb, it was wiped out by penalty until they threw to him like late in the third or fourth quarter. Like he was shut out a long time without a catch. So yeah, they were backed up on to a 3rd and 16 now. And the Cowboy, I got to give them props for creativity. The Cowboys would attempt the hook and lateral, which we ran this in high school. This is a fun play to run, where you throw the ball short to a guy in the flat, and he laterals it back to a receiver running along the sideline that's usually uncovered. Only problem with that is said Wilson's lateral attempt to Tony Pollard was way off the mark and sailed out of bounds. So Dallas would have to punt. But
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you're like, what are you guys trying to do, man?
yeah,
Like, I mean, it was creative. You're not wrong there, but
yeah,
at the same
yeah,
time, it's like,
yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean, Kellen Moore on the he's getting some consideration for head coaching jobs. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. He's probably trying to throw in some nuances and be like, oh look at that, look at me.
I guess so.
And then Dallas kept committing penalties, including 2 early Randy Gregory neutral zone infractions. But the Niners, had a 10-0 lead after the first quarter. Jimmy connects with Debo on a quick slant to pick up 19 yards. Niners like those quick slants. So do I. I love the
Yeah,
slant. It's a
they're
quick
always
breaking
great.
route. Yeah, it's a quick breaking route, and a lot of times, good way to beat coverage there. At one point in the early second quarter, the Niners had more first downs, 9, than the Cowboys had plays run, which was 8. On a 3rd and 9, Jimmy later found Jimmy would avoid pressure, roll right, and find Ayuk along the sideline on a play that would have been about a yard short. But Ayuk, I don't know if you remember this one, but Ayuk
I
actually
do
spun out
remember
of the
this
guy's
one.
hands, extended the ball out, and picked up the first down. That was
Yeah,
that was
that
an
was
amazing
that
play.
was beautiful.
Yeah,
Great effort. He
Ayuk
had a
after
good game,
Ayuk after
like
yeah he
overall
was he
too.
was our top receiver. Yeah, I mean Ayuk after a slow start to the season has really come on strong, and I mean he had an amazing second half of the season. Ayuk was our top receiver with 5 catches for 66 yards.
Yeah, he definitely had a strong game.
Yeah,
He's been looking good the last couple weeks.
absolutely, absolutely. Especially with us using Debo more as a running
Mhm.
back and less as a receiver. It's been Ayuk that's been getting more of those targets.
That's true.
So the drive did end up stalling out, unfortunately. We wouldn't manage to add a 40-yard Robbie Gould field goal to make it 13 to nothing. So first three drives, we end up coming away with points. Obviously you'd like to be up 21 nothing, but you can't complain with getting the points. Dallas would end up responding with their best drive of the half on a 9-play, 67-yard drive, capped off with Dak finding Amari Cooper, um, where he just beat coverage. He was covered by K'Wan Williams, which probably meant they had Amari lined up in the slot because he's our nickel corner. Um, but that's all right. K'Wan will be forgiven here soon, so don't worry about him. But that would make the game 13-7. Niners would end up starting the next drive with a deep shot to Brandon Ayuk, picking up a big gain of 37 as he's weaving in and out of the Cowboys defense on the first play of the drive.
Yeah, that was a great way to start coming back after they scored.
Yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. And then we'd get down in the field goal range again on that play alone. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get another first down and get any closer. So that would summons Robbie on again, this time from 52. I don't remember the last game where Robbie had to hit two field goals of above 50 yards, but he did, connecting from 52 to make the game 16-7 with 3 minutes left in the first half. And on the third down play, um, I want to mention the play preceding the field goal on that third down play. Jimmy would end up taking a shot by Randy Gregory and end up trying to avoid falling on his hand, so he kind of like falls on his right shoulder, and in doing so injured his right shoulder. So now he's been diagnosed with a shoulder injury. Believe it was a sprained
It was a
shoulder.
sprain, yeah,
Yeah, shoulder
shoulder
sprain
sprain.
to go along with his thumb injury on the
Hmm.
same throwing arm, by the way.
Yeah,
So
that's just wonderful.
that's not ideal. Going into the cold tundra of Green Bay. Hope that Jimmy can gut it out, and if we need him, Trey is ready. I'm sure he is. But yeah, and at the time Jimmy got hurt, he was having a great game. 11 of 14, 133 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. So Dallas would try to get a little bit more points before the half. Most notable thing about this drive, though, was the unfortunate collision of Nick Bosa and DJ Jones while they were both trying to rush Dak. Bosa kind of got blocked around, and DJ was coming around Dak, and DJ just like ran into like Bosa's head. If you haven't watched it, it's kind of a scary looking hit. But fortunately, and I mean I say fortunately, this is still an unfortunate situation, but it would just be ruled a concussion, and Nick Bosa has passed the protocol and will be starting against Green Bay this Saturday. Thank God.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Thank
Yeah,
God.
because that pass rush, the game got a lot easier for the Cowboys after this. Like everything else that we're going to
Yeah,
mention, because after that, the pass rush was still good, but, it was definitely not as relentless. Because with Bosa out there, that guy just has an endless motor. I mean, he's insane.
yeah,
Happy
you're
to
right.
have him.
Absolutely.
Um, so on that play, Dallas would be called for a hold, which would stall out a once promising drive. They'd have to punt again. So they'd pin us, though, back inside the 5 with 22 seconds left before the half. So Dallas would play the timeout game. And just, with 22 seconds left, they weren't going to get the ball back. But they wanted to, try to see if they could get a strip, run one in for
Yeah.
a quick score, steal one real quick.
Hmm.
But Elijah, with 3 straight runs, would pick up a first down, and that made the timeout game null and moot. So we're leading 16-7 at the half, but Dallas got the ball coming out at halftime.
Yeah, great looking first half. I mean, it definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I've got the first half stats that I'm gonna put up on the screen here between how both teams looked in the first half, and then we'll get into the first half with Dallas's first drive here. And facing a 3rd and 4 on that first drive, Dallas would be flagged for a false start on Connor Williams, his second penalty of the game. Um,
They just
so
come right out and get more penalties. There's
yeah,
just no
yeah,
there's no break of penalties for them all
yeah.
damn
I
game.
mean, just shooting yourself in the foot. It's just not good. You just can't do
Yep.
that. Um, and just a lot of mental errors there. They'd be called for false starts on back-to-back plays, which would make it 3rd and 14. And then on 3rd and 14, Dak would be sacked by Eric Armstead to force another punt. Now, Dallas would kind of get a freebie here because Mark Nazacha, who's been on the team in years past, he's been a special teams linebacker. We just brought him back a couple weeks ago. He ends up running into Brian Anger, the Dallas punter, and it was unfortunately because he got the plant leg ruled
Yeah, I
on
remember
him, the
seeing
punter.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he ran
yeah.
right into him.
So it was ruled a first down. So Dallas getting new life and gets to continue the drive. So they,
Hmm.
they get a little they get running a little bit more with Zeke, which I thought they should have done more of. I mean, they abandoned the run pretty quick in that game, and I mean it made them really one-dimensional for our pass rush. I mean, like I said, we've got 4 sacks on Dak.
Yeah.
Um, so after picking up a first down, Dallas would again punt. But I know we were talking about Tress Way almost hitting it a couple weeks ago, but Enger's punt hit the video board, and they would end up re-kicking. So punt was it was a good thing for Dallas because they ended up pinning us back at the 7. So that's what ends
Yeah,
up
that was,
happening
it's
with
always
that.
funny when interesting things like
Yeah,
that happen. Like they hit that. I mean, that video board probably just shouldn't be that low. Like maybe bad design flaw there. But
yeah. I mean, I'm thinking Anger just really just boomed the shit out of that punt too. But yeah,
yeah, he must have gone too high with it.
yeah. So the Niners would pick up a couple first downs on their first drive of the second half, but the drive would stall out, and we'd actually send out Wisnowski in the third quarter for his first punt of the day, which would go 42 yards. So good to see Mitch out there punting after a scary collision that he took against the Rams last week, where he had a concussion. So good to see him back and punting for us. Um, On Dallas's following drive, DJ Jones would put Dallas behind the chains with Dallas's third sack of the game, or I'm sorry, with San Francisco's third sack of the game. Dallas actually, shockingly, let me mention this: Dallas and their unrelenting pass rush didn't have any sacks of Jimmy Garoppolo all game. We had 4
Wow.
on Dak, so just want to point that out. Let's give kudos to the Niners offensive line. Big Trent.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Big Trent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Big
Good
big Trent,
job,
but not only Trent, we got Alex Mack, we got Laken Tomlinson, we got
Tom
Tom
Compton.
Compton
Also,
filling in for McGlinchey, who's been doing a great job. And then who's the other guy? We've got who did I say? McGlinch. I said Tomlinson, Compton. I just want to give them
Alex Mack.
Alex Mack, Trent,
Um.
and then
Hmm.
Brunskill, Danny
Ah.
Brunskill, Danny Brunskill. There we go. Let's give them all their props. But yeah, so giving up no sacks to Micah Parsons, that 13 and a half sacks coming in that vaunted Dallas defense. So
Yeah. Glad to
pretty,
see he
pretty
didn't
good,
get much
pretty
done
good.
that game because that.
So
Ugh.
yeah, yeah. So I should say DJ Jones got a sack for the Niners, the third sack of the game. And on the following play, Dak would try to force the ball into tight coverage. And this is why I said it was going to be fine that K1 gave up that touchdown. Because he tried to force it into tight coverage looking for Ced Wilson. And Dak has been developing a relationship with Ced Wilson recently. He likes going to him more in recent weeks. But forced it into really tight coverage, and K1 Williams got the pick, setting up the Niners at the Dallas 26. So great field position to start with.
Yeah. Definitely. This game, at this point, the way it's looking, you wouldn't have expected to end as closely as it does.
Right, right. Yeah, it looked like it was gonna, go by way of a blowout, especially after what happened here. Now, did you get a chance to see this? What I want to talk about here?
With Debo.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I saw the play.
yeah.
I didn't
Okay.
I didn't I didn't hear about the fact that he just told Kyle just to get him the ball
Yeah,
and he'd do
yeah.
the rest. But
So through watching like the Niners press conferences, yeah, like I guess like Jimmy and like I think who else was it? It was Jimmy and somebody else. No, Jimmy and Kyle. So I guess what happened was Debo walked up to Kyle, and Debo was also mic'd up for the game, which I also heard later on. So I heard him, and he goes up to Kyle. He's like, "Hey, He's like, hey, he's like, get me the ball. He's like, get me the ball. He's like, we're gonna put the ball in the box, is what he said. And then I was like, all right. And then so Kyle calls the play, right? And then they hand it off to him, and I swear it was 26 yards, and the man wasn't touched. He took the ball to the right, and then he cut it back inside, and he literally wasn't touched the entire time. He just sped through two Dallas defenders, and it was just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It was like he was the fastest man on the field. I mean, he's just such an amazing combination of speed and power. It's just, I don't know, it's incredible. I don't know. I don't know. Like, so we're gonna have a good game. I feel like offensively, but I'm concerned as always about Aaron and the Green Bay offense. But I feel like we will get our yards with Debo, especially because when we played Green Bay earlier in the season, this was before we lined Debo up in the backfield at all. This was week 3, and we lost to them 30-28.
Yeah.
So like now we're gonna like try to outfit and who's been able to out physical us in recent weeks? Nobody. The Rams, no. The Cowboys, no. Like all these teams that like want to come in and play bully ball have just been just out manhandled by the Niners. So pretty good to see. But yeah. So anyway, Debo ends up scoring untouched, makes the game 23-7 after the extra point with 6:50 left in the third quarter. And it was the first postseason rushing touchdown ever scored by a Niners wide receiver in team history. So first time that's ever been done. So Debo continuing to make great team history.
Might be a couple more here
Yeah, might
if
be.
they keep
Might be.
going.
Yeah, anything he goes from here is just going to be breaking his own record. So
Yep.
facing a fourth and 5, Dallas called for a surprise fake punt, which we talked about that. I think they should have called the fake punt a little bit earlier in the game, especially at that point, trailing 23-7. But they did execute it. Unfortunately, Josh Norman, who was playing special teams, did get beat on his assignment, and the ball did get completed to Goodwin along the sideline, um, with Anger pulling out a really nicely thrown ball. Um, Dallas would end up turning the drive into points, albeit a 51-yard Zerline field goal. Really thought it was kind of a strange call for McCarthy to take the field
Yeah.
goal down 23-7 with 11:53 to play in the game, but it did cut the game to 23-10.
Yeah. After that, Kittle would finally get involved in the catching game, making his
Finally,
first catch of the game
finally,
with 11:43 left to go.
yeah.
So, I mean, not much going on, but I'm
No,
sure he was blocking well all
blocked
game.
his
But
ass
it's
off. Yeah,
I always loved I like to see him get involved in the pass game sometimes. Like,
absolutely.
let him catch some balls and run, man. Come on.
Per Kyle offense, though, like it seems that we usually feature a different guy every week. Like if you remember going back to like how our 19 run went, like a lot of times, like Tevin would have a good game, and then maybe Raheem would have a great game, and
That's
then
true. Yeah.
and then Debo would have a great game. So here's the thing: if Kittle hasn't had a great game yet, tonight might be his night, bud.
Yeah,
Tonight might
that's
be a
true.
heavy dose. Tonight might be a heavy dose of Kittle. Maybe last week was designed to just have him block. Maybe the Packers aren't thinking too much about Kittle. I don't know why you're not thinking ever too much about Kittle. That's always a mistake. But yeah. Um. So let's see here. A few plays later, Jimmy would target Trent Sherfield. Always like it when we give him some looks because I think that Trent Sherfield's going to be a really good player for us. I'm excited to have him back next year. But the ball was overthrown, resulting in a pick by Anthony Brown with 9:37 left in the game.
There's Jimmy's
Yeah,
gamely is not a word, but
yeah, yeah.
gamely pick.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that more in a second. Obviously, the shoulder. I mean, you don't want to make excuses, but the throws in the first half versus the throws in the second half, like I said, what was
Yeah.
It was 11-14
Yeah, it's
for
11,
133 of
14,
the
133.
injury. Yeah, and then after that, I'll give you his breakdown after, and it's a lot worse. Fortunately, when on like I think it was a second or third and goal play, Fred Warner would go down with what was ruled a low ankle sprain. He wouldn't return to the game. Good news is he is supposed to be back and starting against the Packers as in addition to Bosa. So thank God because it would be a lot more challenge. It's always hard to beat Aaron anyway. but it's damn near impossible if you don't have your top two defensive players out there.
Yeah, definitely needed them to be back. So that's fantastic news. That's literally like the best news you could have hoped for.
Oh, I know
Because
that's
that's the two worst things that happened in this game. Really, is them getting hurt. So I remember that's all I was thinking is like, oh man, if they're not
and
back, like
and Jimmy's shoulder.
and Jimmy Shore,
Yeah,
that's right. So there's actually three.
yeah.
And Jimmy, I mean, I don't think he's not going to be 100% next week.
But
So
he's gonna play. He's gonna get through it, and if necessary, Trey's gonna be ready.
yeah,
But Jimmy's gonna be fine. He's not gonna. We're not gonna need him. We're gonna beat the Packers. It's gonna be fine. All's well.
it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Following Fred Warner going down on a 3rd and goal, Dak would score on a 5-yard rushing touchdown to make the game 23-17 with 8 minutes to go. So at this point, it's starting to look a little scary.
This is
I'm
the
getting
part
nervous.
where I started to get like I'd been feeling good the entire game up until this part. So this is kind of
Exactly.
where I started to like, So we started to hit him with a really run heavy drive. Obviously, the intent here, up by 6 with 8 minutes to go, was to bleed as much clock as possible. And we did succeed at taking 5 minutes and 20 seconds off the clock. But we wouldn't be able to add anything additional. Obviously, even a field goal would have put us up by 2 scores there and been
That would have put the game
huge.
away, basically.
Exactly. Facing a 3rd and 5 on a short pass, Debo would be tackled a yard short. The Niners would end up lining up to go for it, but it was just a ruse to try to get, you might as well have jumped so many times, you might
I
as
was
well
going to say, extremely
Yeah.
smart choice on
Yeah.
that. I mean, they had 14
Yeah.
penalties
Yeah.
by the end of the game. So,
yeah,
yes, absolutely smart choice.
Exactly. So Kyle took the delay, and then we would end up punting the football away with 2:51 to go in the game.
Yeah, and then the ending of this game really just threw me off a lot. I mean, Dallas would drive 37 yards, getting into Niner territory, would turn it over on downs on a failed 4th and 11.
Yep.
And then yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just gonna say the only thing notable on that drive really was that that's when we got our 4th sack, which was split between Kevin Givens and Charles Amenahu, who was our big midseason trade acquisition from Houston. So good to see them getting in there. And Kevin Givens is a guy who's been stepping up without big JK, big Javon Kinlaw all season. So
Yeah.
that was the 4th sack of the season. But we'd have to punt again. We'd punt on our drive back with 1:10 left. So Dallas would get one last opportunity at it.
Yeah. This is where it gets weird.
Yeah.
This is the part that I'm imagining in my head at the end. So they drive it down to midfield. There's 14 seconds left.
Yep.
And for some reason, I don't know, Mike McCarthy is just like thinks he's playing Madden in an arcade mode or something and thinks, he's going to QB run it all the way down the field. And they do a quarterback draw and Dak just slides in directly in the middle of the field, nowhere near the sidelines at all.
Nowhere.
And then they try to, do the hurry up.
And they'd been doing so good at getting out of the sideline, like getting out of bounds before that. Like literally, like let me look at this last Dallas drive real quick. So last drive was like Prescott, like they hit that like hook and lateral play. It worked this time. They hit it Wilson to Lamb for 20, and then out of bounds. 10-yard to Pollard, out of bounds. 9 yards to Schultz, out of bounds. Prescott up the middle for 17 yards with 14 seconds. I was like, you guys were doing so well. Your timeout situation. And then even worse than that is that Dak and his center try to take the ball and then, not only spot it themselves, but spot it like a full yard and a half. I've got it on the screen. I'll throw it up here for the folk. But, try to spot the ball like a full yard and a half, like further than they were, which isn't a huge. I mean, they were at like the 25 anyway, so it's like, okay, a yard and a half, with like 1 second, if they would have gotten it, wouldn't have been a huge deal. We'd have called the man up 3 deep, put our safeties at the goal line and just manned up. That's what you do in that situation and just hoped for the best. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was a call from McCarthy or if that was just like Dak didn't see anything and panicked, because like I haven't heard from McCarthy if that was the design draw. But if
unless they were thinking they were designing it for Dak to go down a little earlier and hopefully get back to the line in time.
Right.
Maybe, but with 14 seconds left.
But you're not needing a field goal, bud. Like, I get that strategy if you need a field goal and you can get up and like maybe work a spike. But again, like, you've got to give the ref the ball, which they don't. The ref runs up behind Dak, crashes into Dak, like has to respot the ball and then then touch the ball. And then by the time they spike it, like the clock's already expired, and that's the end of
I
the
think
game.
Dak's like just taking the snap as the
Yeah, yeah.
clock goes
And
to zero. So
Tony Romo on the call is trying to hide his disappointment when
yeah,
really like if I'm a Dallas fan, I'm livid. I was like, you mean you're livid?
you mean you're yeah,
You're livid
exactly
right
right.
now.
He's got to
Yeah,
try and remain impartial, but we all
yeah,
know he's not.
yeah. He was having a tough time remaining impartial all game. That is
But
for
great to
sure.
see Dallas one and done.
Yeah.
That's always awesome. Niners moving on to Green Bay
Moving
today,
on
which is going to
to the
be
frozen tundra of Green Bay. It's
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 going to be
gonna be
rough.
it's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough. The one thing we have going for us is somehow, and I don't know how, and you can't always say it's even just against Kyle because it's only been against us one time. But yeah, the Aaron in the postseason 0-3 against the Niners. Like some of those were like Jim Harbaugh coach teams, and I think two of them were, and then one was in
I
2019.
think it was 2012, 2013, and
Yeah, yeah,
2019, I
okay, so
believe.
yeah, exactly. So those were the two Harbaugh coach seasons, and then the
One under Kyle.
Super Bowl year with Kyle. Exactly. So for whatever reason, whenever we have a really good season, when we go to the bowl or the NFC Championship, and we have to meet Green Bay and Aaron, we just we just play them really well. And we played so we have some good basis. We played them in a really tight game, which I think we should have won earlier in the season. I mean, we took the lead with 36 seconds left. Aaron is just a damn magician of the clock, and he's able to just do what he does. So we just need to finish this game with the ball in our hands. That's how this one needs to end because we've got a better defense, I think, than Green Bay. Green Bay's got a good defense. Their defense has gotten a lot better in recent years, but I think that we've definitely got, like I said, coming into this game, our defense for 7 straight games, 3 or more sacks, longest streak in the NFL. Our offense, definitely perfectly capable. Robbie, despite a midseason struggle, you know, kind of coming back from the injury, has
Mhm.
definitely found his groove, and he's been kicking the shit out of the ball through the uprights. So our team is really functioning at a high level. We have to function at a high level in a very hostile, cold environment. There's not going to be as many Niner fans in Lambeau. It's not going to be like
No, not at
the
all. It's way
situation.
too cold.
Yeah. No, not even
Way
that,
too
but
cold.
Green Bay is just such a good and I really respect them for that, but the Green Bay community is so tight. They're really good about not selling their tickets to, other Niner fans. I think that those are going to be mostly Wisconsin natives and fans of the Packers.
I know
Packers.
somebody actually that's lined up there for that. So
Are they a Packers fan?
yeah,
That's yeah. They are a very solid and dedicated fan. I've got a lot of respect for the Green Bay Packers. I'll go on note to say that. I mean, no hate at all. I do hope we win, but I got a lot of respect for Aaron and that entire organization and what they do. But I do hope we come away with a win. If we do, we go into the NFC Championship, and and it might be in Champa Bay. It might be in Champa Bay, and you know what?
yeah.
If it's in Champa Bay, because if Champa can beat the Rams, and we can somehow beat Green Bay, then guess what? Guess what? I might be going there. I might. Despite the ridiculous costs and great expense,
Which is about 20 minutes from my
which is
house.
spared no expense, I might be going. But stay tuned. First step is winning. We got to win. Oh, there's Boo on the screen. Hi, Boo. Her little head popped up. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Roscoe's been popping up back there.
yeah,
He's under the covers right now,
yeah,
but
yeah. No, I've been seeing him. It was cute. But yeah, anyway, that's going to do it for this week's Niners news update. Follow us next week because win or lose, we will definitely be recapping the game. And either way, I'm proud as hell of this team and the way they've played all season. Regardless of the
definitely.
outcome, this is a fucking hell of a team. And we're going to kick ass. Go Niners. Forever faithful, baby.
Oh yeah. See you next week. Hopefully for another game.
Absolutely.
Well, no, we got the Green Bay game to cover, obviously, but
Yeah. We're
you
gonna,
know what I mean.
yeah, we're gonna, and then we'll cover the games either way, whether we move on or not. So always
Right.
come back for more extra point show. Do it for our episode this week, so we might as well just go ahead and conclude it here. I don't have anything else to cover, so we're excited to watch the upcoming. I think that the first game kicks off here in about
It's
two
at
and a half hours.
4:30. 2.5 hours.
Yeah. So that's gonna be which one we got? That's
It's the
first.
AFC game, I believe.
Yeah. So
Tight or
Titans Bengals is our
yeah, Titans Bengals.
first game. So we get to see the return of Derrick Henry. But yeah, if you're not already, like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also check out the show every week on YouTube. And have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.